In the series premiere of Dead to Me, we're introduced to Jen. She's a recently widowed real estate agent and she's having a tough go of it. So she decides to head to a support group for the first time. And at the support group, she's introduced to Judy, who is also there for the first time. And while Jen is reluctant to talk, Judy is wide open with her situation. Her fiance dropped dead of a heart attack and that's why she's there. All the talking does encourage Jen to finally open up that her husband was killed by a hit-and-run driver and they haven't caught the guy yet. Jen and Judy also share another common struggle, is the fact that they can't sleep. So after the meeting, Judy gives Jen her number and says, hey, if you can't sleep, call me. That night after Jen's two kids go to bed and she's done crying, she does in fact have trouble sleeping and she decides, what the hell, I'll call Judy up. And they start talking about their husbands and their fiance and their situation, and it actually does help and Jen gets some sleep. And the two quickly form a friendship where they bond not only the fact they lost somebody, but over stupid things like the facts of life. They start hanging out pretty regularly and it's always Judy heading to Jen's house, but one night they're driving around and they stop because Jen has spotted a car that's all dented up. And she stops every single time she sees a car that could have been involved in a hit and run, because the cops say most of the time, you're never going to find that person. And while she doesn't think it's going to help, and she doesn't think she's going to catch the person who did it, she still does it anyway. A few days later, Jen heads over to Judy's house and calls her up and says, hey, I'm coming over because you always come to my house and I've never been over to yours. And this takes Judy off guard a little bit, and she says, well, you don't know where I live. But in fact, because she's a real estate agent, Jen does know where she lives because Judy sent her a picture of her and her fiance at their house and she recognized the place. But when she knocks on the door, she is shocked to find that Judy isn't there, but her alleged dead fiance is, and he is very much alive. Steve is standing in front of her in the flesh and she says, is Judy here? And he says, no, Judy hasn't been here in months. We broke up. And also, can you tell her to stop coming around here? I'm going to change the locks. Judy is frantically calling Jen, trying to explain herself, but Jen is sending her straight to voicemail. And while she's shocked, she's still a businesswoman, so she hands him her business card and says, well, if you don't want her to know where you live, it's a seller's market. And he actually takes her up on this. Jen doesn't answer any of Judy's calls and decides to confront her at the next meeting and rip into her about why she's even there. She tells the whole group that Judy's dead fiance is actually alive and she's just been lying the whole time. Now, the rest of the group wants to hear her side of it, and she explains while she's very sorry because she's not going through what they're going through. She explains how her and Steve did break up and she has been having a tough go of it, but they broke up because she was having miscarriages. They desperately wanted to have a child, and after her fifth miscarriage, they couldn't do it anymore. At the end of the explanation, Judy apologizes and leaves, and the group feels really bad, everybody except Jen, who doesn't buy the story. But after sleeping on it, Jen feels pretty bad about it, so she heads over to Judy's work where she teaches art to the elderly at an assisted living facility. She apologizes for how she acted and also says that her miscarriages aren't nothing. She did lose somebody in this situation. She also notices, though, that Judy is actually living at the assisted living facility for the time being until she can find her own place. And Jen actually has a place because the guest house where her dead husband used it as a studio is empty at the moment. So she invites Judy to live with them, and Judy graciously accepts. Judy heads over to a storage facility, though, to get some things for the move. And one of the things in that storage facility is a car that has definitely been involved in a hit and run. Thanks so much for checking out this recap. If you don't see the next video there, don't worry, it'll be up in a day or two or as quickly as I can get to it. Please consider subscribing to this channel. It would really help me out. And then like the video if you liked it and hit thumbs down if you don't.